This is a Tape Deck podcast.
Hello, welcome back to Well Run For. This is your host Michael, and with me as always is me. So this is a quick not a quick episode, but a bonus episode of our adventures at Rockin' the Knob over the last 3 years. That race is coming up in about a month. We're not sure if we're going to get out there or not. We may get out there for the half, but this is the recollections of the last 3 years and the recounting of those tales. If you want to check it out, it's just, we always have a fun time at that race. Ben, the race director, does an amazing job. It's an incredibly tough race. So check out Allegheny Trail Runners if you would like to sign up. They have a 10K, a half, and a full marathon. Full marathon is over 7,000 feet of climbing, just to be aware. It's a great, tough, hard race. So check out our stories from the last 3 years.
We know while we were eating and drinking, you guys were running.
Well, that's what we always do, right? This past weekend we ran a little bit, but we were recovering because the previous weekend we did a marathon called Rockin' the Knob.
The Knob, yeah.
Rockin' the Knob.
Oh my God, do we have an actual race report from a real life race?
We have a live race report.
And I'm not really sure what to say about it other than it was literally the hardest thing I have ever done.
Yeah, it was a hard race. It was, I think officially it's 6,700-ish feet of elevation, of climbing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
in 26.2 miles.
Marathon distance.
It was, some of the climbs were at like 35 or 40% going uphill.
Well, so let's talk about how this race director is just sadistic, right?
Why?
Insane.
Why is this happening to you?
So what we didn't realize, you sign up for a marathon, you think it's, or a trail marathon, you think the trails. But no, this guy is like,
it was fun.
The trail is here and the trail is here above you. Let's just, instead of making them take the trail, let's just have them scale the side of the mountain on their hands and knees to the next part of the elevation. It was just literally straight up. There was one section where there was just these tiny trees and you had to hold on
to be able to get
each
up,
tree and just kind of climb your way up using the trees, because otherwise you were just going to slide down this giant hill.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You could not literally turn around and look back, or you would have fell down the hill.
I did look back at one point and it was terrifying.
It was, and it was like 4 climbs like that probably.
It was
3 anyway, at least.
There was 4.
4, yeah. And one of them was probably 800 feet straight up.
And I guess we should have known, because the one that I was talking about with the trees was called I Need a Sherpa.
Nice. Okay.
There's Throat Punch Hill or something, or Throat Punch Mountain or something like that.
It's truth in advertising.
And then there was an aid station that I think we talked about last time called Quitter's Row.
Yeah. Yeah, so
go ahead.
It legit took 8 hours to run this marathon.
And it was a full marathon. It was 26.2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was 8 hours, 8 minutes. The fastest person finished it in 4 hours and 11 minutes.
Insane.
Insane. That's a 9.5 minute mile, and we're trying to figure out how that's even possible on some of these ups and downs.
I guess if you were down, a really good, we are not good technical downhill runners at all. And these downhills were not we'll just run downhill. It was if you start running, you're never stopping, and it is straight downhill.
And there was a ski slope.
We ran down a ski slope.
We ran down a ski slope, but then on the side of this ski slope, there was like this like gravelly area that you had to go straight down.
Oh yeah,
and if
it was intense.
you had to go down sideways, because if you didn't,
you were gonna fall.
There's no way your feet could go straight because your whole body weight would go straight. So you had to like kind of shimmy your way down. So I can't even imagine how some of these people were like doing it quickly.
We hit one section around mile 14. It was a like a single track area along like a ridge.
Yeah.
So it was like a real tight single track trail, but it was pitched at like 30 degrees to the side where you would fall off.
For like 2 miles.
For like 2 straight miles.
And we were
Can't with that, guys.
so
Cannot.
tired by the time we got to the next section, which was completely an uphill.
Yeah.
That like
I was so happy for the uphills.
I think at mile 18, I really thought that when we got to Quitter's Row, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm quitting. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm quitting. I'm totally quitting.
What made you keep going, Aaron? Michael yelling in your ear?
No,
I did yell at her at one point though.
Oh,
Was it
well,
remorse for how mean you
that.
were to that person?
Yes,
We'll get,
that is why.
No. We'll get to that. That's way after. Way after. So at that point, I think that's the whole thing about races and actual finish lines, right?
Yeah.
You're at mile 18. You're like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And then we spent a good amount of time going back and forth with maybe 3 or 4 other people, like where we would pass them, then they would pass us, we would pass them.
Yeah.
And like we weren't talking a whole lot because I think we were all pretty miserable and just trying to survive. But there's something about that whole like
back and forth.
And like we saw these 2 guys who were hiking the whole thing, who were like, this is I didn't expect it to be this hard. And so I think like just that whole like having other people who are commiserating with you, then getting to an actual aid station and having people cheer and like knowing that there's a reason to keep going and knowing that there's a finish line to get to, that just keeps you moving. And so we got there and I was like, all right, we got here. I can absolutely do another 10K. But that 10K was the most miserable 10K of my entire life.
It was hard.
It was really hard.
Was the last 10K easier than the rest of the race was?
Yeah, it was.
Or was it
the first 2 miles of it were easy. And I think that almost tricked us because we were like, this isn't that bad. And then all of a sudden there's this giant downhill. And that at the end just killed us.
Which you then had to come back up, by the way.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about how that race ends with 1,000 feet up. But before we get to the 1,000 feet up, we come into the last aid station. And I was just literally the worst person that has ever
totally
existed.
the worst, yeah.
What happened?
I had to formally apologize on the Facebook group page for being an asshole.
Oh my God.
Well, it was like we had just come down this giant hill.
There's no excuse.
My knees hurt. The guy like starts asking me like, do I need anything? And I said no. And I kind of like moved myself away because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And he just kept like, he came up behind me and asked me like 3 times. And so by the 3rd time I was like, no, I'm fine.
You look like you needed aid, Aaron.
Yeah. I mean, he's literally at an aid station right before a 1,000-foot climb at like mile 22 or 23 of the race.
I think, yeah. Because it was
so like
mile
his
24,
job. Yeah, his job is to make
end.
sure everybody's okay there.
But listen,
And
I
then
apologize. Listen, I apologize on a Facebook group page, and literally, I can show you guys the comments. Everyone was like, "There is no need to apologize. We are all trail runners, and we all know what it's like."
It was good that you apologized.
So in summary, there's no excuse for your behavior.
And I'm sure the guy you yelled at didn't comment, everything's fine.
Actually, he did.
That's amazing.
He remembered you.
The aid station.
He's like, oh, it's her.
I forget the name of the aid station, but they like tagged each other and was like, and everyone was fine. It's fine. I was like, okay.
You're like, this a-hole.
Unreal. But we did finish. Towards the end, there was 2 guys close behind us, so I started running again.
Oh my gosh. So
8 hours in, after all that, I started running.
And I was okay with it. But the thing was, like, those guys seemed like they wanted to pass us.
I tried to let them pass on the road.
You did.
And they didn't pass. So I'm
But
like, you know what? I'm finishing.
When I first said it to you, when I first said there's 2 guys behind us, you started running immediately.
Well, because I didn't want to hold them up. And we were it wasn't like we were in some area they could pass. We were in a tight single track with rocks all over the place.
Or your ego was too big and you didn't want to be passed.
Did they pass? No.
You guys are just a joy to be around. I don't know why people would want to run races with you.
So we did pull ahead, and they finished a few minutes behind us. Not much.
They weren't much behind
Maybe
us.
2 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. But
Right.
we were in the last, 6
Oh, yeah,
people.
yeah. We were towards the end.
I mean, we were towards the end. We were not. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And during the race, I said, at some point, I was like, well, this might be a good, test kind of race to see how good we can get. And he looked at me. He's like, we're never doing this again. And then 2 days later, he's like, maybe we should do it again.
That was my question. Now that you've had some time to reflect, would you try that again?
Maybe. I don't know. There's so many other things to run, theoretically, but I don't know.
I agree. I don't know that I would necessarily go back to that. I would actually. I will say it was a very well run.
Oh, it was fantastically
very
run. Yeah.
well run race. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were very good with everything was prepackaged. All the aid stations were still stacked with stuff, but they had prepackaged potato chips. They had prepackaged pickles. They had everything was packaged in its own things, prepackaged cookies. So it wasn't like the normal trail running aid stations where it's just like a buffet of food. Everything was already came in prepackaged stuff. And then they had one person who was assigned to different pitchers of the endurance stuff or pitchers of water. So that way you didn't touch anything and only that one person was touching and refilling that pitcher. And then they would refill, you would hold out your bottle and they would refill it for you. So they figured out how to do that pretty well. And I'm sure because of that, their aid stations are probably always run really well. The beginning and the end was really nice. They gave out beer at the end along with burgers and pulled pork sandwiches. So yeah, I mean, as far as the race and the race directing, I think it was really amazing. I really liked the area. I'd go back.
It was just challenging.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to do that race again to see whether we could get better. But like you said, there's also a lot in this world that has probably 6,500 feet of elevation as well. So we could go back or we could try something else. It might be a little different. We don't really know. But yeah, I would definitely challenge myself like that again.
Well, awesome job, guys.
Yeah, really.
Other than being a couple of a-holes to everyone around you, I appreciate that.
I was very nice. I was nice.
He was nice to everyone except for me usually.
Well, no, because you yelled at a guy at an aid station.
Well, no, but even after that, you were really cranky a few times.
Well, yeah.
And I'm sure you guys were just super nice to each other.
Always.
So.
We're always very nice to each other.
Especially 8 hours in.
I can't imagine spending 8 hours with Diana climbing through the woods.
It would just be one of us would have to kill the other.
It would not end well.
Oh gosh.
Oh, miserable. So, cool. So, anything else on the race?
No, it all went super smooth. It was really well run. I think right now, ultras and trail races and small local races are just kind of things that can happen if they're done well. And I think that's awesome. It's a way to get out and do some things.
All right, so we're going to get into Rockin' the Knob, but to help us out, we have our friends that, I guess, commiserated with us on the mountain.
Rock the knob with us.
I'm so excited because you guys, we don't think we've ever had anyone on an actual episode.
No, this is the very
we've
first
done
time.
Inside the Runner Studio, but never had anybody on. So I'm excited.
We have Greg in Orlando, who is Greg at the Doubletree in Philly currently.
Yeah, Greg in Pennsylvania.
Can I just tell you real quick? I forgot Greg's actual name, and when I went up to the race director and went up to the timing guy, I'm like,
Can you tell me whether Greg in Orlando is still out on the race course?
Yeah, let me just search Twitter handles. It's a field that we have on our racing tracks.
It was so funny. He's like, "You're a really bad friend." I'm like, "Thanks."
It's okay because I had to do the same thing to Erin because she doesn't have her last name on anything. And I remember we were doing something with the hotel room and I'd known her for 2 years and I had to message her. I was like, Erin, what's your last name?
Oh my God. I remembered a couple seconds
and we had
later.
known each other for a long time.
Oh, God.
Anyway, moving on. Who else we got, Tom?
Also joining us is our friend Melanie, known as Baltimore Amorhan.
Why is that so hard for you?
More.
Why don't you pronounce it for us, Melanie?
Okay, it's Baltimore Hun. So Baltimore, but with an amour for love and Hun for a Baltimore Hun.
I think it's lovely. I think that's lovely. Thank you for joining us.
We clearly struggle with that all the time.
I don't know why.
So
funny. I don't know where to start. I guess you guys all got there before us, but we got in on Friday, and I know you guys went to a brewery, but
oh yeah, we stopped at a brewery.
Yeah.
We just had there was nothing really
we picked
exciting
Greg
there,
up at the airport and had
Drove on out.
little lunch at a another farm place. I don't really know. We were super into farms.
Founding farmers.
There you go, founding farmers.
Oh, that's cute.
Drove the rest of the way.
Yeah, to what is that? Southwestern PA or something?
Bedford,
kind of
PA.
south, central western PA-ish.
How far is that for you guys?
Too far.
4 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like 3 hours 45, I think, was the total time.
It's closer to Pittsburgh than it is Philly.
Yeah.
So therein lies the issue.
Yep. And then we stopped at what's it called? Old Bedford Brewery.
Yeah.
Brew company, something like that.
Or New Bedford, or
I think it's Old Bedford.
is it?
I think it was Old Bedford. It doesn't matter.
We should spend a lot of time talking about that.
Very specific details.
I had a beer. Greg had a root beer. Now you all know what we drank.
Exciting.
And then we went to Horn of Plenty.
No, first we checked into the Marriott. The beds were very comfortable. We had
a nap time.
a nap.
Wow.
We did have a nap.
We were getting very
Detailed.
very into there.
And then we met for dinner.
Then we met for dinner.
Yes.
At Horn O' Plenty.
It was a fun find.
Plenty.
Yeah. Fresh farm to table kind of place.
Yeah. Greg is our resident vegetarian. So I sent him the menus beforehand and he picked that place and it ended up being really nice. Enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Met our friends Melanie and Kate was there, who is not on the pod.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, she refused.
Kate is not taking interviews.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But sends her love.
Yeah, she sends her love. She's my love.
I wanted to hear her side of Tom's story, though, so I am a little disappointed.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear that.
I'll have to get it from her.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
if you guys don't know, Kate's my best friend. She's my maid of honor. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the dinner was very good. We had some good times, good food.
Yep.
Yes.
And then we all went our separate ways. Melanie, you stayed at the actual resort, right? That Rockin' the Knob. Is that?
Yes, we stayed at the resort that's right at the starting line for the race.
nice.
So that was kind of cool to be able to just, be up and be right there and not have to worry about driving. So that was cool. But the beds are not very comfortable. So sorry. Not resort, but the beds are not very comfortable.
Trading off convenience for discomfort.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so then that morning, the morning of, we woke up. Our start time for the marathon, which was Michael, Greg, and I, was 7 or 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yeah.
The half marathon, which is what Melanie did,
9 o'clock.
was the 9 o'clock. And then the 10K, which Tom and Kate did, was at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And so you guys did not do what Tom and I normally do the night before a race, which is have too many beers and then just instantly regret it and then are up like, I don't know, not like obscenely later than you want to be, but long enough where it sucks. Like, like you don't get back to the hotel until like 10:30, and you're like, God, we should have just been back here.
Honestly,
at 9.
I don't think Bedford has enough of a scene for that to have happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a Taco Bell in our parking lot, and I fought every urge to sneak out of the room for a chalupa.
Oh my God.
That's so
But
funny.
You're allowed out. It's not like quarantine. You don't have to sneak.
If he was by himself, he probably would have.
That's funny.
Yes, I would have.
So you guys just gave kind of an overview of Rockin' the Knob, of kind of the different race distances. Anything like, I know you guys did a full race recap last year when you guys did it. Anything that you guys like want to give like high level overview before you guys jump into your race
like what
recap
changed from last year?
to the people?
Did anything like significant change? Like I think it was run the same. The start was pretty similar.
Yeah, I don't really think that there was anything different other than they added an extra hill that Michael and I didn't end up having to do because
but I mean, as far as organization,
but organization wise,
start was pretty similar.
The aid stations were very similar. They were still doing mostly prepackaged food, handing things out. There was a couple places that had like Greg will talk about the pierogies. There's another station that had grilled cheese and bacon,
watermelon, oranges, that kind of stuff.
So it was a little bit more hands-on this year than it was the previous year, but they were still definitely had, some of the pandemic mindset.
Gotcha. No, that's good.
But otherwise, I wouldn't say much else changed. Would you say that anything? Melanie did the half marathon last year.
Yeah.
Any
I don't think anything really changed except for that final climb they added, but I didn't get to do that either since I didn't finish. So I didn't have to go to the final climb.
Okay. So then maybe I have to look at the half marathon course because maybe I don't know the half marathon course the way I thought I did. I thought the half marathon course did the last 10K of the marathon.
Which has
I don't know.
I'm not really sure, honestly.
I think it does.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at the course.
Yeah.
So we arrived.
Talk about bib pickup.
Yes, I was going to say. So we arrived. Tom and Kate came a little early to see us off for the marathon.
Nice.
We all went and picked up our bibs again. Like last year, my bib said "Another Hill." They were all personalized and had little sayings on them. They write on every single person's bib, which I think is like a really awesome little personal touch.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
To the point where, Greg is showing his on the screen.
Says, "Welcome to Pennsylvania, pal."
Oh, cute.
Yes.
And then in the other corner,
You won this?
yes.
Ha ha ha. So I thought that was hilarious.
And mine very kindly said to not yell at the aid stations.
That's hysterical. I laughed so hard when I saw that.
So
it said like you've been warned or something.
Yeah, it said you've been warned. It said don't yell at the aid station volunteers. You've been warned. So I was remembered fondly from last year. What did yours say, Michael? Do you remember?
No idea. I don't remember actually. I probably took a picture of it, but I don't recall offhand.
That's funny.
Mine said like "Welcome, Flatlander."
Oh,
Yeah.
I think mine said the same thing. Welcome, Flatlander.
Yeah.
nice. So he looks up where you're from and information about you, and then handwrites little notes on your bib, which I thought was
it's
a really nice little personal
very nice touch. Yeah,
I think that's fantastic. I think that's so great.
Yeah, he's a fantastic race director. So we all met. We got our bibs. They saw us off for the marathon. For the marathon part, Greg's we came up from the behind, right? We were the last few out.
Yeah. We were actually last three.
We were the last
the
three.
sweeper was with us. Yeah.
Oh, was that the sweeper? I don't think that I realized it was the sweeper.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that on purpose?
Yeah, because it didn't really matter. Yeah, because you get to a single track, like what was it about? Like a half a mile down the road, and you head into a single track. Yeah.
It's very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it bogs down pretty quick. So there's really no reason to be up people's butts because you're just all going to be in a line anyway.
And we kind of knew that where we're going to end up like we knew that you could pass people like later on, but up front you knew you weren't going to make any real progress. And there's people who finished way faster. So we didn't really feel the need to. Michael and I made a comment, though, that it seemed like there was a lot of people who went out faster this year than they did last year. Like last year, there was a lot of people who kind of hung back, and we were kind of in a pack with, I don't know, 10 to 15 people. This time it felt like everyone just shot out like
in the first half of the
bat
race.
out of hell.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy.
Were there a lot more people this year?
No.
Similar, right?
Similar. There was which we'll get into. There was a lot more DNFs this year.
I'm curious to see how many started.
Yeah. We're trying to find that
list the
statistic.
DNFs on the.
Yeah, I'm actually going to email him and try and find that out, just because I'm curious.
I think the weather could have probably contributed because the weather was
absolutely
perfect. Like it was a perfect temperature.
Well, it was not a perfect temperature
at the start.
8 a.m.
At the start,
yeah.
It was so maybe people were like feeling it when they went out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was warm. It was warm for that kind of race.
Yeah.
Like last year was it was chilly and drizzly.
Cooler for sure.
So that was actually more of a perfect temperature for the race than this year was because it was cool all day.
Yeah.
Whereas the heat came on. I mean, it wasn't like 90 or anything, but it was warm out there. It was warm.
Yeah. So how was the start of the half, Melanie?
It was good. The temperature was perfect in the beginning. So I was excited because I was like, this is going to be such great weather. Last year it was so cold and it was kind of wet. So it made it hard. So I was excited for the weather this year. And then it started to warm up a bunch. And I didn't think it was affecting me all that much just because I've been running all summer in the heat. So I just didn't think, I was like, 80 is not going to be that bad. But it made a difference. I think the combination of that with those climbs, it's just tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But the start was good. The start was very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you was it generally the same as the rest of the marathon goes off? And everything?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everything was pretty much the same as last year. The route was the same. That single track that you kind of get into with it's pretty rough terrain right there. It's a rock scramble kind of. So we got into that and that was good, but it was a beautiful start to a race.
Any comments about your start, Tom?
Other than immediately once we got off the gravel road into the woods, my anxiety shot through the roof. It was, and I mean, we had some time to think about it, but
yes.
It's such I love using this word, like a juxtaposition of feelings because it's so calm and peaceful and serene out there. And when we were getting ready to start, I saw some guys put in their headphones and I'm like, I can't imagine doing this kind of thing with headphones, but
it's strongly discouraged.
It's so peaceful and you just want to pick your head up and look around and take in the nature, right?
Did you do that?
Yes.
No, I stared at my feet for 3.5 hours because I was terrified from the beginning.
Sounds right.
And we essentially were tiptoeing the entire time. We were, and this is no shade on Kate or I, and we do not feel shame by any means. We were 100% the last two people that finished that 10K. There was a guy, and this is no shade at him, but he had one leg. He had a prosthetic, and he blew us out of the water.
Here's another thing, and I noticed this in your stories yesterday. You guys were at an aid station, and
I picked this up too.
There were people talking behind you and Kate, and they said, well, everyone who's done the 10K has got to be finished by now. Yeah. And they were behind you. Like they were...
Greg pointed that out when I posted the story because I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it.
I didn't even pick up on that. We kind of
because I had the headphones in, and basically she's saying all the 10Kers are through this aid station because they were aid station workers.
As you were there taking your shot of Fireball.
Fine. And honestly, we never did this for time. We only did this to finish unharmed.
Yeah.
That was it. without injury.
That's smart.
I'm just so impressed, and him talking about staring at his feet doesn't surprise me at all. Because if you guys ever do like any type of, honestly, like a road race with Tom, he yells at you the entire time about your feet and staying away from the curb. It's like it's annoying is honestly what it is. It's just he's like, get away from the curb. What are you doing?
Well,
watch your feet. There's a hole there. Like it's like,
it's true.
the whole time.
Tom, since we're kind of already on you, why don't you go ahead and tell us how your race was? We saw the stories a little bit.
It was great. It was the tale of two halves.
Well, they all are. Yeah.
Because the first 3+ miles are a gradual downhill. Some downhills were a lot steeper, lot of loose gravel.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the woods,
Yes.
like there's little pockets of like flat ground, but mostly it's jagged rocks, loose, jagged, flat rocks. Like nothing is just solid. Everything kind of wobbles.
It's not like a trail at all.
Yeah.
It is a trail.
It's a
if you
trail.
have like a bicycle, but this is not a trail that had been patted down by years of use. Like
No.
No, he takes you on the path less traveled for sure through that park. So the 10K loop, you start out on that road and then you go into the woods, and that patch of woods that's kind of flat before you go downhill. That's where you're talking about. If I remember, because we didn't do it this year, that's where like there's a lot of big rocks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get to the fire road that's all gravel.
Yeah.
And the fire road, and then the fire roads can get pretty steep.
Yeah, they're steep with loose, chunky rocks.
Big chunky rocks, right? That are
Yeah.
So honestly, I was scooting, like, you're shuffling your feet. Like I wasn't taking big long steps. Are you out of your mind? Like I was kind of shuffle walking the entire time, but we were making pretty good pace and we felt really good. And again, it's peaceful and we were talking. And like every time I would look up, I'd get scared and I'd look back down again. Like, we did that. And the craziest thing about trail running is there is a level of quiet, but it's so quiet that you cannot tell when someone's going to come up on you, because like a runner would come up on us like 20 feet away and we would have no idea until he's like right up on us. It was so crazy. But okay, so first half made it down. The downhills really started to cramp up Kate's feet.
Oh yeah.
Because you're tense.
Yeah.
You're tensed up the entire time.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure if you're running,
Toes.
well, I'm sure if you're running, you're kind of looser and you're not clenching as much, but like, man, I don't know. We get to the aid station. Apparently everybody had already passed us. For posterity, they had some Fireball. I took a shot of Fireball. We had some watermelon. We got some
Fireball.
Gatorade. And then Throat Punch Hill.
Yeah, you guys are in like really good spirits at that aid station.
Holy
You guys
Yeah,
are
they
like
they hadn't turned yet.
smiling and
Holy hell. Because, okay, so immediately you go, well, I think there's kind of like an up and down, and you kind of go over a little creek, but then you hit that hill, which is, I don't even know, like, are you guys engineers? What's the grade on Throat Punch Hill?
It's
Because
like
it was
40.
straight.
40%.
Said it was
Yeah,
40
I think
something.
they said it was 40.
Yeah, it's over
No
40.
one's running up that hill.
Oh
Like,
no.
Impossible.
Well, and then we kind of got a little friend that joined our merry duo, turned it into a trio. He was a sweeper. But since we're doing the 10K, we have all day long. So he was like, I'm just the sweeper to make sure you guys don't die. So he was just kind of like hanging out like 50 feet behind us,
Oh my god.
running back and forth. He was the nicest guy in the world. But like, okay, so we climbed this hill. It took us forever. Our hearts are beating out of our chest. Kate wants to vomit. I want to die. But there's no negativity. We're just encouraging each other, and we're taking it at a snail's pace. Like if I looked at the splits, this probably it took us a long time. So we get up and out of Throat Punch, and then now we're kind of just going uphill. uphill on fire roads, uphill on some switchbacks, loose gravel, more of the same rock kind of stuff. We passed by the Cadillac, which I thought was
I love that Cadillac.
Like, there's a random Cadillac just in the woods up on some rocks, and it has a sign that says Cadillac parking.
I like that he put the race flags on the Cadillac itself.
Yeah, that was where he
like
secured
acknowledging
the
that
so that we knew it was on the trail.
It was funny. Like, when I was looking at Tom's photos, I was like, I don't understand. How do you know where to go? That's so dumb. I don't know what to do
I will
at all.
tell you, hats
Super well
off to
marked.
them,
Yeah.
because they marked the hell out of that course.
Oh yeah.
Like there was never a question on where's the net, because it was pink ribbons. You kept it on your right. That's it. If you saw more than one ribbon on a tree, that means a turn or something was about to happen.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to follow. And it was like, I mean, they did a really good job marking the course. So, up. This guy is following us. We passed some hikers coming the other way down the hill. These two women, and they're like, "You guys are doing so great." And we're like, "Oh my god!" And it's about so mile 4.5, kind of close to mile 5. The half marathoner started to catch us. Which is understandable. They just the nicest people in the world, floating effortlessly past us. I honestly do not know how they navigate this terrain so quickly and so spry on their feet, because the only thing I can think of is, let me make a reference for the older people in the group. You know the movie Short Circuit with the incomparable Steve Guttenberg? It's about the robot who comes alive.
Yeah.
And he wants data.
Johnny Five.
Do you remember when Johnny Five was reading books and it's just like his head shaking from side to side and his eyes are darting back and forth? Like, that's what's going on in my head for every single rock that's on the ground. But like the trail runners are flying by us, head up, looking straight, not looking down. I'm like, do you not care? Like, your ankles are susceptible to all of this carnage. Like, what is going to happen? It's crazy. Anyways, we passed the ladies. We get past a couple times, and then we hit another, like, damn near climb straight up. Straight up. And me and Kate were like, all right. And this was hands and knees climbing. Like, it was crazy. But then we get into like Fern Gully, and it's again a treacherous kind of Fern Gully. We hit 6.2 miles. We go another half mile, and then we come out of a clearing, make a left. We can start to hear the finish. We, turn the finish. Everyone, like all the beer had been drank. Like,
no,
I'm kidding. But we turn, we see the finish, and we just trot our way to the finish. Ankles intact. We were very happy to see it. What was funny is for the first half, when we're going down and we're making good time and we're like gaining more confidence and we're like, okay, this is okay. We were both mentally signing up for the half marathon immediately.
And how's that feeling now?
Once we hit Throat Punch Hill, we were screaming at each other that absolutely not.
That's so fun. So you guys were coming down the hill like, oh, it's not that bad. So next year we should do this and do the half.
Kate was like, I don't know what you want to just do it. You want to just sign up? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Oh my God.
On
it was a great experience.
On the map, it is called actually Cadillac Alley. So apparently he did know that there was Cadillac there. And then the second one, because we talked about Throat Punch, the second one is called Soul Sucker Slopes. Did it suck your soul, Tom?
Yes, it did.
Oh, that's accurate.
That's accurate.
And then the last little part of it is the Not Far Away.
It was terrible. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Like, we're all in this together, and I'm not taking anything away from me and Kate. Like, we were very happy, but we did take our sweet time. We were averaging 30-minute miles. So, like, yeah, like, hats off to you guys, because I know you guys didn't have some of the greatest experiences, but like, man, I cannot imagine adding that much more distance to that kind of activity. Like, I would have died on that mountain had I tried the half. Like,
I don't know. I still feel like I said this
you
to
did
you.
the most difficult part.
That is the most difficult part.
And I said to you that I think that if you trained a little bit, you could do the half. Because if you're able to do that, the half marathon is only like another 1,000 feet of elevation. So it's not like you do a lot of the elevation because that is some of the, that is
1,500 feet of it.
two of the toughest hills.
Yeah.
So
Or
the
what
fact
you
that
did.
you could do that, if you were able to add even one more of those, I think you could do the half.
Well, I will say past Throat Punch and the other like where you climb, those long, gradual, and then steep fire roads.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the most treacherous part.
Yeah,
because you're stabilizing, you're tense the entire time.
Yeah.
But it was an experience. I could probably be talked into it again.
I feel like that's gonna happen because I feel like we're gonna want revenge.
A redo.
Melanie, are you looking for revenge next year?
Absolutely, yes, I am.
See?
It's funny because, even DNFing it and feeling so awful, never once did I feel like I'm not coming back next year. I don't ever want to do this. I was like, I'll just be back next year and it'll be better next time. It's fine. But this year was a tough one. It was a heartbreaker. So
yeah, what let's get into a little bit of your race experience.
So I was super excited this year because the weather was going to be so nice. I finished it last year and I just thought, I'll go back this year. I really wanted to do the full marathon, but I just had some blocks in my training with some stomach issues. And so I couldn't train hard enough to actually be able to compete in the marathon and finish it. So I said, I'll just go back this year, do the half marathon, and I'll just PR my time from last year because I know what I'm getting into. I've done a lot of strength training this year, and I've just focused a lot on what I need to do to do well at this race. And I was excited the morning of. I wasn't nervous at all. I felt really good. The first 3 miles were great. It was beautiful. I was running really well. I was passing people. Like I felt really, really good. And then the stomach pain started at like mile 3. And it wasn't stomach pain that I could run through. It was like the kind that bowls you over to where you can't even keep walking. You're just like, and I thought I was going to have to pull out then. I was like, once I get to the first aid station, if this keeps up, I can't run through it. I'm just going to have to pull out and be done. But luckily it kind of resolved itself. And so that went away and I was fine. So I kept going and I got probably to like mile 5 or 6 and the nausea hit me like a ton of bricks. I think it was probably after the first big climb. So Throat Punch Hill, I think is the first really, really big one with like a 40% grade to it. And it's just rough. So when I got to the top of that one, I started just feeling so nauseous. Got to, I think, the second aid station. I wasn't feeling great. I tried to have some Gatorade. I had some Tums and nothing was really settling my stomach. And then I kept going. I was like, I think I'm going to be fine. And I started dry heaving. And I think when I started dry heaving was when I was like, okay, I think it's game over at this point. I'm in a lot of pain. I was moving so slow. Couldn't even run anymore at that point. I was just miserable. So when I got to the very last aid station, I thought, I'm just going to hang here for a while. There's no way I'm PRing this thing. I'm already at, 3 hours and 50 minutes, I think, and I still have 2.5 miles left to go. So I thought I'll just sit here. I'll try to drink something, eat something, see if I don't feel any better. And it just wasn't happening. My legs were like jello and everything just felt awful. So I just decided the best thing to do was call it. I was looking at that last climb and I was like, there's just no way I'm going to make it out of here and be able to finish this thing. So it was sad, but I had to do the wise thing and just call it and get driven back down to the start. So, but
I think when you know what lies ahead of you,
it helps you make a decision.
It helps you make a decision. Yeah. Because I think that in the experience that we had, I would say the same thing. Like, what that what that next thing is and how difficult it is. So if you're not feeling good and you know time wise that you're not in the place you want to be, it helped to be able to be like a conscious decision, like this is not going to work for me today.
Right.
So,
and it's a hard one to make too, because when that's your main race for the year and you've trained for it and worked for it, and it's heartbreaking. But I think with Rockin' the Knob, because it's such a tough race, you're not even looking at 2.5 more miles. You're looking at 45 more minutes to an hour to get through that 2.5, because you're barely running. And I knew I was in trouble when it would break out into the flats. Like we would get done with a climb and I couldn't even bring myself to run, because I was like, I'm going to throw up if I keep trying to do this.
Oh, no.
I was just like, this is going to be a walk from here to the end. So if I finish it, I'll be surprised. But it got to be too much. So had to call it. But next year will be better.
Yep.
What you going for?
I think I realized yesterday, even just when I was doing the half, I have no business being out there for the marathon yet. Not even a year from now. I'm just not ready for it. I don't think I even want it yet. I think I'm just I'm good with the half marathon for that. It is a really, really, really tough race. So
yeah.
I think I just want to go back and do the half marathon, keep it fun. And, maybe one of these days I'll re-sign up for the marathon there, but it would be my first marathon ever. So I don't know that needs to be my first one.
Yeah.
It's a really tough way to go.
People did it.
A little easier for my first time around, with the marathon. So
we did hear a couple people.
I know of two.
Yeah, we did hear a couple people say that it was their first marathon, and
that's a hell
one
of
girl,
a,
the girl who had the white jacket tied around her. I saw her finish when Greg and I went to the finish line, and she had said it was her first marathon. I was like, oh my gosh, girl,
that's amazing.
Talk about picking up a really hard race for your first.
Just to give everybody context, it's not a half or a full that you like. Yes, some people go in with times or whatever. It's a half or a full you go in to finish.
Yeah,
it's not unless you're really, really experienced and a really good trail runner. You're not going in in a really good mountain trail runner.
So it's like the challenge is the course, not the distance.
Yeah. You're not unless you're really proficient on hard trails and real good at climbing, you're not getting a great time.
Yeah.
This is about finishing and persevering.
At least for mortal people. There are some immortal people that finished it in 4 hours and 11 minutes last year. Yeah. This year's course was 4:40, I think. Yeah. And I think that has to do with some of the heat, because we were comparing last year's finish times to this year's finish times a little when we were with Greg actually a little earlier today, giving him the Grand Tour of Philadelphia. So you could see where the heat definitely changed the game, even for the marathon. And since I want to end on a high note, let's recap us.
Well, we can recap the first. What did we run together? 10 miles, something like that.
No, not even close.
Was it 8?
No, because 8 is up to where it. Because we ran a lot of the runnables without Greg.
Oh, okay.
Greg went and took off after mile 3 on us.
Yeah. That's pretty much the first runnable downhill. I was feeling strong on the downhills, and so I think the last time I saw you guys
was mile
was
3.
that first runnable downhill.
Well, my day started off
fake aid station where it's not an aid station yet.
Yeah, it's not quite an aid station opened up yet.
Yeah, I think that it was around mile 3, because the first real aid station's at mile 5.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
And we didn't see him after. So at that aid station or anything, he was already gone.
Well, anyway, so the start of our race, pretty much all week, I felt like I had to throw up all week. So that was a great start. Went into the race, and the first 10 miles felt like I had to puke every step.
Oh my God. Did you do
So I don't know.
I
don't know, because last
if I didn't feel well all week, and I was sick to my stomach. Were you just popping Imodium they were?
Yeah,
he really was.
I did actually. We talked about it.
He actually took the drinkable stuff, which was
drank it in the morning.
Disgusting.
Yeah. I thought he was going to throw up in the car.
Yeah, I almost did drinking it.
On Wednesday, I didn't. My stomach was off. It is what it is. This is a running podcast. I had to poop a bunch. My stomach wasn't great. It is what it is. Come on. I don't know whether it was like a
vegetarian diet is betraying.
I don't know. I don't know whether. No, I was eating meat. It's fine. I don't know. I don't know if I didn't know if it was like a touch of a stomach virus. I didn't know if it was a touch of something I had eaten. There was no real way of knowing. And so then so my stomach was off most of the week. Friday, it felt better and I ate like normal. So I thought it was fine. But I sort of had some stomach issues as well during the race. For me, at mile 2, I looked down and my heart rate was at 183 and I knew I was in trouble. I kept moving and saying, because I even said to him, like, my legs don't feel like my heart rate's at 183, but I could feel everything like I was hot, like that when you're at beating that quickly. I was getting that hot, cold feeling. I wasn't breathing properly because your heart rate's so high.
Well, you also couldn't breathe out of your nose.
My allergies. My allergies were bothering me. I don't know whether the congestion and the post-nasal drip was also part of what was causing both of us. And our allergies this past week have been really, really bad.
Horrendous. Yeah.
So I don't know whether that was part of it. Cause when you get a post-nasal drip, it can make you a little nauseous.
I have that problem every fall.
Yeah.
And it's what took me out of Batona 2 years ago. And it killed my stomach because this time there's something, whatever allergens are this time of year, it causes the post-nasal drip. And then I end up with a stomach issue, which is pretty much what the issue was for me this week.
Yeah.
And during the race, honestly.
Yeah. So I think his was definitely related to that. I don't know for sure. I don't know what was going on with my heart rate. I don't want to get too into it, but looking at last year's heart rate difference, I think I sent it to Diana.
Yeah, you sent it to me. I was like, are you dead?
Yeah. It was like 4 hours spent 4.5 hours spent in the orange and red zone compared to last year where I spent 1 hour of the whole 8 hours in the red zone. So like, it just tells you my body was telling me something was not right.
Yeah.
And I probably should have listened to it way sooner than I did. But instead, I went to mile 18 and went up the longest, hardest hill. That's like a mile.
Well, it's not the hardest hill, but it's the longest.
Well, it's the longest hill. It's 1.3. It's the 1.3 mile uphill climb.
Yeah.
So it's the longest climb on the race at mile like 16, 17. And I just knew when I started going up that there was no continuing. I wasn't going to make the time limit. I wasn't going to get any faster. I was going at it like a 36-minute mile. There was no way I was making the time. And I turned to him and I said, if you can go faster than this, go. Like, just leave. Because if you think you can make it, I'm telling you right now, I am not making it.
I like how often "Leave Me for Dead" comes up in these kind of races.
Seems to be a theme.
Right.
Yeah, we were for me, the first 10 or so are relatively easy in the marathon. Not easy, but relative to the course. I
know what you mean.
Yeah, there's no giant climbs. There's a lot of runnable area. There's a lot of runnable trail. You do hit some tough sections, but like normal trail race tough sections, not crazy tough sections.
And it's not even like the trails that Tom talks about, right? Where it's ankle turning. Like there's a lot of the beginning is truly runnable.
Yeah. But like I thought I was running real well there, even though I felt like I had to throw up every single step of the way.
Oh my God.
I was my legs felt good, but my stomach just didn't feel good. So every bounce was terrible. But I did have whatever the first aid station was. I had some ginger ale and some water. But I realize now, looking back at that first aid station, I drank almost a whole bottle of water. So I must have been somewhat dehydrated coming in just from the stomach issues all week.
That's because it was all coming out of your butt.
Well, no, I didn't even have that issue. I didn't have that issue, but maybe I wasn't properly hydrating because my stomach bothering me. I wasn't drinking fluids properly.
I just don't understand. Like if I woke up and I was like more than, oh my gosh, I haven't had my PRP, so now I'm a little nervous before we get going. But if I woke up and I was like, it's not right, like my stomach is not right, my fear of what would happen on that course would prevent me from starting altogether.
Well, I figured the worst that would happen is I would just throw up and then I would refuel and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. That's weird to me too. I'm not gonna lie. I felt fine starting at the race. Like he was like, I don't feel good.
Weirdly though, I felt better at the end, stomach wise, just not everything else.
I felt fine starting the race. It wasn't until, and even with my heart rate up that high, I still felt good up until like mile 10, and then I knew all of that time in that zone was then starting to affect me. And then I started getting nauseous, and then I started getting dizzy because I had been running too hard for too long and I couldn't keep up anymore.
I think it also got real hot at that point in the day.
Yeah.
It felt like the temperature jumped pretty quick at some point.
Mm-hmm. When you left the shade of the trees.
Yeah. And there were some of the valleys that you went up, or some of the gullies you went up or whatever, where you didn't get a breeze, and it was kind of humid in there and hot because of the wetness of it. It wasn't a really humid day or anything, but you're in this like really dense forest, and it can get pretty humid in there. But yeah, I don't know. I was like, looking back on it, I thought the running part was good, but I really wasn't running good when I went back and looked at it. And whatever stomach issues I was having were causing me not to hydrate properly. So I started drinking ginger ale at the aid stations and eating. I mean, I was fueling and stuff the whole time. So like I was eating, I was forcing myself to eat, and I was just hoping at some point I would throw up so I would feel better, but it didn't happen. But
yeah, we had the opposite thing. I didn't feel well at all. I didn't feel like I could eat anything. Everything I tried to eat didn't make me feel good. And then once I started getting a little dizzy and nauseous, like I ate some watermelon thinking some sugar would help, and that made it even worse. So I just, I went into the race feeling fine, and then ended up not feeling fine.
Deteriorating. When you guys started, the three of you guys, did you have any conversations like the night before or the day before, anything like that? Was the plan to stay together and run it together, or was it never?
No.
First of all, I thought Greg was going to kill it out there and run way faster than we could. His fitness level is definitely higher than mine, in the fact that he does a ton of cross training. He runs a lot more miles just because he has of his schedule. He is able to fit in a lot more of those longer runs. So he does a lot of weekday long runs too. So I had no doubt that Greg was going to kill it out there. So I kind of felt like Greg was going to take off from us at some point. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. We were going to run it together just because we weren't really going for a time. We were going to finish it and hope that we bettered last year. But with those kind of races, it's always conditions. So, like, we don't go in going like, oh, yeah, we're going to kill what we did last year, because we know, like, literally anything can happen out there. So,
and we also aren't like, I don't feel like, I feel like if I'm having a really bad day or he's having a really bad day, neither of us would ever be like, oh, don't move on. Because I mean, I said to him a few times, like, just if you feel, I knew he didn't feel good, because like every few miles he would be like, he would stop for a few seconds and be like, I'm just trying not to vomit. I'm like, what is happening, and why are we still doing this?
The climbs were rough with the nausea, but eventually that actually kind of subsided for me after the ginger ales and things like that, weirdly. I don't know why, but anyway, so we got to about mile 15, and this is where, like, I didn't realize how much time we had lost in the beginning going slower than we did last year. And then I looked at my watch and I'm like, man, we're at like 5 hours. I'm like, there is no way we're making the cutoff. We may make it to mile 20, but that's it. Like, there's no chance we're going to be able to go on because the cutoff time.
In the end, we didn't make the cutoff because we started moving much slower, because we knew that there was probably no way we were making it anyway. So we technically got swept from the course, and we were totally fine with that, except for the fact that they took my bib, which really made me sad, because it says, don't be mean to the aid station people.
Oh, so you had to sacrifice your bib?
I had to sacrifice my bib. Yeah, they took our bibs when we DNF'd at that aid station.
If that's really making you sad, I'll remind you every time we see each other how rude you were to that one volunteer that was on the course. I'm fine with just letting you know that happened.
So then we DNF'd. We got to the aid station at mile 18-ish, and
you saw Tom.
They had some bacon.
Well, we were sitting down next to the road,
and I was petting a dog, and that made me really happy because if I'm going to DNF, then I want to pet a dog. So I was petting a dog, and all of a sudden, here comes this black car down the road, and the windows roll down like, "Hey." Like, huh? And it's Tom and Kate.
And we got a ride. Ride back to the start.
Yeah. We were waiting for a ride from the aid station people,
but we didn't have to wait.
Because here came Tom and Kate, having finished their 10K and on their way out.
Now you could actually. There was 2 people in front of us that had their bibs taken that continued on. The one guy didn't get to mile 20.
It was like 2 hours later.
Over 2 hours later.
Yeah, it was over 2 hours later. It's a
2.5 hours later.
2.5 miles from that aid station to the 20.5 mile, which is the end of where the finish line is. It took him
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Why?
Because he decided he wanted to tough it out.
He wanted to get to that point.
And at that point, Greg can take it from there where the ski slope, the new hill that we didn't actually even get to see, the ski slope was.
So I'll rewind a bit, just to kind of give context to my mindset. This was not a planned race, and I have Chicago Marathon in 3 weeks. That is my goal race, and so this came, and it's 3 weeks out. And on my marathon plan, this would have been peak week, 20 miles, but nothing like this. So let's do it. But I'll just run it. I'll run it conservatively. You have 9 hours, which sounds like a lot. Like you've got all the time in the world, and you don't. But as those climbs get tougher, and especially as we get into that ski slope section, which is, first off, very bizarre. If you've never been to a ski resort,
it's an actual ski slope. It's
it's like literally where
it's essentially a ski slope in the summer, right?
Yeah.
So you've got all the equipment, so it's very horror movie-esque.
Nice.
If you like abandoned theme parks, this might be your jam. And that was the first kind of demoralizing to the rest of the crew around me, was that hill. It's just it's relentless. It's not like the later hills where you're hands and kneesing it, but it is very tough, especially at the mileage it is at. But so the entire race, my goal is just to moderate my ambitions that might creep up during a race. You see someone else going and you think, oh, I should catch them, or I'm feeling really, really good, I should run this quickly. So really it was all about tapering.
And being more in control, it sounds like.
And being very in control, which also sounded like Aaron and Michael's plan. But we started we were the very last ones at the start, and I only on paper passed 7 people.
Wow.
I don't know how many of those. I know of at least at least 5 people that but it was probably much higher.
Yeah, well, when we came in the mile 14 aid station, they said that they were waiting for 6 more people, and those people never came or passed us. So we know for sure that there was at least 6 behind us.
So that's
we know the 2 that did pass us.
DNF.
At least 2, right? Yeah, the girl who came in, she was very upset.
Yeah, more like 4.
Yeah. So there was
and there could have been earlier people that DNF'd too that just couldn't handle it.
Oh yeah, the guy with the beard also he DNF'd. Yeah, we saw a lot of DNFs.
Yeah, I had a marathon DNF riding in the car with me back to the start line. Okay. And he said that it's his 5th year running it, and it's the first time he ever DNF'd it. Yeah. So, it was a tough one this year for sure.
Yeah.
And you do have to realize that there's not a lot of points where you can just quit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not like every mile you can just step off the road and call an Uber.
But I think, Greg, to that point, like, you got to know that kind of thing going into something like this. Like,
absolutely.
I think about any road race, and it's just much more accessible to get help.
Yeah.
And that's what the guy. So me and Kate, by the time we started, we could have recited the race director's spiel because we've heard it. This is the third time we've heard it, and basically he's like, if you get hurt, try to get to the next aid station.
Right.
Like you got to kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And just the whole situation if you're going to attempt something like this.
A race like this, you have to be aware that you may be like, there may be an aid station a mile away, but it may be a mile away and an 800-foot climb, and you may be in an area where somebody's not going to be able to get you out. You're going to have to get out. Like,
absolutely not. Like this, I don't. You guys are insane.
Like if you rolled an ankle, you broke an ankle, you couldn't physically walk. Like somebody is going to come
take
along.
some time.
Yes, but somebody will come along and get you to a fire road, and then somebody could get a vehicle to you. But it's going to be tough. It's going to take some effort on your part.
I just die on a rock out there.
You would. I swear to God.
Pirate boat. My eye patch on itself.
All right, Greg.
Area like that too, because it's such tough terrain that you have to keep in mind what you're doing to the race volunteers and the race director by not just calling it. You know what I mean? Like you keep going, and then they have to try to send people out to somehow get you off that trail. It's not easy for them. That is tough terrain up in those mountains. So it's just you have to be kind to yourself and kind to the people that are putting this race on for you, and just make good decisions about whether or not you can keep going.
That's a great point.
Talk to people on the trail.
Yeah.
Get to know them. At least get a name, where you're from.
That's
be
great
conversational
advice.
If you're solo, because you never know.
Yeah, and help people, if you run into
absolutely.
People that are hurt, don't just be like, well, sorry for you. I guess we'll see if you make it out of here alive. I mean, you have to be a little bit selfless when it comes to these trail races, and you can't just think about yourself and your time. You really have to think about other people. I mean, I had someone next to me fall, and she fell hard, but luckily there were a couple of us that were right around her that could kind of help her and get her up. But you have to be kind to everybody when you're trail racing, because it's dangerous out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Did she have tape on her shoulders?
I don't know. She was a little bit of an older woman. She was in the full marathon, and she fell, and she fell hard. So, but I don't remember exactly what she looked like.
Me and Kate met a lady at the finish who was telling everybody that would listen. That she went down hard right on her face.
Oh, God.
But I remember she had like KT tape, like on her arms up near her shoulders. It was an interesting interaction, but like she was like, "Man, I went down hard right on my face."
Excited about it.
Well, you're here now, so okay.
Oh man. I mean, it's a dangerous spot. I mean, you could trip and fall 400 feet down a hill.
Yeah.
Like there's spots where the trail is leaning to the right, and you trip, you're just going. There's no stopping you. So it's really,
that was
you have
another
to be
spot
aware.
where I knew I was in trouble, because I was moving so slowly and I was in so much pain that I was like getting that kind of delirium that you get when you're wobbling back and forth.
Yep.
I almost fell, and I was like, if you would have fallen off of that, that would have not been a good situation. You've got to get yourself out.
That was part of the reason we called, because we were both wobbly going up the one climb, and it's like you're crossing rocks over those streams, like they're bridges made of slate or whatever, or granite or whatever it is. I don't know, whatever, Pennsylvania bluestone.
Yeah, that's bluestone.
And it's mossy and it's slippery.
Yes.
And you're kind of wobbly, and it's like, this is not a good situation.
I have a blackening toenail right now because I was so wobbly that I like tripped and stubbed my toe on a rock because I was wobbly. And I think that's one of the times I said to him, I can't keep going. Like I can't, like I'm not, my footing's not good enough for me to keep going.
Well, I wasn't going to push to keep going because I wasn't comfortable with how I was climbing hills. Like Melanie said, I was wobbly. Like I had that like trail haze, where you're not quite fully there, and I'm like, this is not the kind of race where you can have that. It's not. Yeah. It's just not.
All right, Greg, do you want to?
Sure. So leaving the ski slope area, there's a very humorous sign that basically says, "Are you an expert? You better be." Because the trails up ahead are very, very serious.
Oh God!
Injury and death.
Injury or death.
Part of that, part of the sign, I assume, is this is a ski resort, right? So snow, but they're still true. Like the trails from that point were very steep, very loose, kind of dirt. I did slip in the sense of you're already leaning back, you're going to end up on your butt. And I think if I remember from social, that was a troublesome section for you guys last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people were doing the same thing, except last year it was worse because
it was wet.
So slick and muddy.
Oh,
God. So I made it to mile 20, also known as Quitter's Row. And the time on the clock said about 5:55. The aid station attendant there said, keep in mind, the race does not finish in a valley.
For some quick perspective, Greg did the first 20 miles in 5 hours 58 minutes, and then it took you over almost 2.5 hours to do the last 6.
2.5 hours.
Almost 2.5 to do the last 6.
Yeah.
Just for some perspective on how difficult
the
the back half of that marathon is.
And that's all Tom and Kate did.
And that's all they did.
That's all that they did.
You're welcome.
See? Look at you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at the elevation profile, the first 2 and some change of that going down is gradual-ish. Mm-hmm. And then it just jumps off a cliff. The fire road just tanks down, and all of that is just broken boulders. And I swear I felt like I was going to cause some Pennsylvania avalanche. You get down to Throat Punch Hill aid station, some of the most energetic of any of the aid stations, and then you start that massive climb out of that aid station, and you climb and climb. You have a gradual climb, steep climb, cliff climb, and then repeat for Throat Punch and Soul Sucker. And then the race director has the kindness of taking you on the path inside the woods about 2-3 feet from a perfectly fine paved road.
Yes. I didn't appreciate that.
The best paved road around. And here you are on a bit that you cannot run on. Every time you think you can run in 3 steps, you wouldn't be able to. So you end up just meandering through the woods thinking, wouldn't it be nice? I am running with Dina as I had for most of the race, finishing it out. I turned that corner. It's 8 hours and 20 minutes after starting. And in the back of my head for the last couple of miles, I'm like, man, I'm really slowing down, and I haven't seen Aaron or Michael. So surprise of all surprise, Aaron and Michael are at the finish, and Aaron is running and filming me.
I was gonna say, what did you think when you came over and then you just heard her scream? Because I heard it on video.
You might have heard it from home.
Yeah.
Are you saying I'm loud? I'm confused.
Not only are they here, which means they didn't finish, Aaron is in enough of a good shape to yell and run at pace while filming me through the finish line. And so you go, okay, so they finished, but they must feel great.
You got a second win.
Because I don't know how long it had been.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen them since very early on in the race. So.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that I was running, just real quick, shows you that my legs were actually not that bad. It was everything else that was off. But I was able to continue moving, and I did. I ran Greg into the finish in my UFOs and a camera.
In UFOs.
Yep. And that is the glorious tales of
Rocking the Knob.
Rocking the Knob, Blue Knob.
And you put in 10 miles today, so you're feeling great.
Yeah, and we walked around Philly for 10 miles. Yeah, so I definitely would like to go back.
He said yesterday that he is not going to do it again.
I said I was going to do the half.
Yeah, he said I don't ever want to do the full again. And then today he's like, I think I want revenge. I'm like, what? Like, you can't, like, stop.
I think it depends on what else I'm doing on the race calendar, how it fits in.
Yeah,
you can't just throw this on. I guess you can, because I did. But smartly, you shouldn't just tackle this race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
you really have to focus
in the middle of
on
everything else.
Yeah, Greg, if your fitness level wasn't where it was, like, do you think you would have been able to do it? Like, if you were just training for like a regular marathon and not like doing all the cross training you had been doing?
Yeah, because like not only have I have been cross training a lot of strength training and a lot of mileage, and this is not my first trail run. I've done both.
Yeah.
West Coast and East Coast mountain trail runs.
Yeah.
So I knew, I mean, you can't know because every course is going to be different, but I kind of knew the echelon of what this was.
Yeah.
So I was confident in my fitness level, and as long as I did not have a catastrophic injury or some kind of sickness type thing take me out, I was pretty confident.
Yeah.
Tom, you got something
and
else
that's
to
why
say?
another reason why I took it so conservatively was I just didn't want to fall to the point where, you know, I'd take myself out of this and races coming down the pike, because Chicago's in 3 weeks, but also Space Coast is a month after that. So there's just a lot of stuff coming.
Well, two things. One, Space Coast isn't important. There's no reason any of us should go down there.
So just one last note before we wrap this up is I said it last week that Pretzel City puts on the best races, or some of the best races, but Allegheny Trail Runners also put on some of the best races. I just love trail races. I love Allegheny Trail Races. We'll be back again. Benjamin, who actually I think listens to our podcast, was out there. He's a great RD. Ooh. If you get a chance to check him out on his Instagram. And come join us next year, because it sounds like a lot of us are coming back for Rocking the Knob.
Yep.
And Tom's signing up for the half marathon. So
you guys have fun with that.
Do the half marathon next year. Just come with me and we'll all do the half. No one needs to do the full.
Oh, I love that. You should do that.
I don't know how many 5-star reviews it's going to take me to sign up for that half.
A lot.
It was 5 for a 10K. So what, 10?
Yeah. Let's do it, everyone.
And we got 12. So we'll see.
144. Has to be exponential.
I wouldn't say no, but we'll see what happens.
Intriguing, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
I love how I have an automatic out. I'm like, I don't have a knee. So I can do this.
Oh,
the good news is they gave you the medal to start. So
yeah.
So now we have 2 useless medals.
We still have them technically. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Awesome. Well, I'm so proud of all of you guys. Even if you didn't finish, it was a tough day out there, and you guys did awesome. And I'm proud of you for listening to your bodies. Honestly.
Yep.
Do it more. Yeah. I don't like. Don't be miserable. I don't understand. Like, a race is miserable enough. Like, don't do it while you're already miserable.
More of a challenge. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You guys are awesome.
All right. We should get into the next one.
Let's get into it.
Episode doesn't end up being 800 years long.
Yeah.
Good luck.
The knob.
So the next
the
race,
rise of the knob.
It's the rise of the knob. Rocking the knob.
We are back again.
For Tom, it's part 2.
Part 2, yeah.
For Michael and I, it was part 3, but really only not part
3 for me. Part 2 for you.
2.5.
Part 1 for me. I've never been. I've never ran it. I realized when we were there that I've never even been at a trail race before.
Oh, because you never went to Tom's other ones down in Maryland? Okay.
No, she didn't. The local one that's 5 minutes from here? No, she did not.
No, it was COVID. I wasn't allowed.
That's true. Actually, that's
true.
very true. That's very true. Spectators were not allowed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Because the first time, that's right. Oh, and also we realized you had never met Melanie before.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We went to dinner with Melanie and her husband,
and I didn't
Jeremy.
even introduce myself because I felt like I knew her.
Yeah.
She's like, have we met?
I didn't realize until you guys said that. I'm like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
They have never met.
Well, because I forgot that you weren't there last year. And Michael was like, why wasn't she there last year? I was like, weren't you studying? Didn't you use that
test.
as like that big weekend that you were going to study for while Tom was away?
I had a test, and then I was doing dry try at Orange Theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remembered that there was a reason why you didn't go, and you figured you would just take that weekend to like do a major study session since Tom would be away for that big test you were taking.
Yep, and honestly, it's inconveniently far away. So if he decides he wants to do it again, he may be on his own.
Thanks, dear. Here's the thing. So Rockin' the Knob is it's a trail race. There's a 10K, a half, and a full. It's in the Blue Knob State Park on basically the ski mountain.
Yeah, Blue Knob Mountain. Yeah.
Blue Knob Mountain. And it, so there's absolutely no cell phone reception anywhere. It's a dead zone.
I had a touch of service.
Last year, I felt like I had a touch more service. I don't really know what happened this year. I literally every so often, like I said, I'd get something random, but really nothing enough to do anything with. So, but we all drove up Friday evening. It's a Saturday morning race. We had dinner at Horn O'Plenty for the second time in Bedford, PA. And we were joined by Melanie and Jeremy.
Yep.
Lovely time. Good food.
Yep. Nice farm to table kind of place. Really
They
good.
stayed at the Airbnb that was right above there. And the rest of us stayed at the hotel we've sort of always stayed at.
That's half hour away from the race because there's nothing in between.
That's true.
Closest town unless you get an Airbnb at the resort.
Yeah.
Which was almost as much money. And I don't know.
It was.
We also waited till the last minute and didn't make any big decisions for some reason, and whatever. So morning of, we drove up there. We were all the marathon takes off at 8. The half marathon takes off at 9, and the 10K takes off at 10. Everyone kind of wanted to see Michael off, so everyone was there pretty early. 7:15, 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30. Yeah.
We saw our race director friend Ben.
Mm-hmm.
He's sadistic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It is a super not stressful start though.
Very chill.
Very chill.
Chill.
People get there, park
Roll
along
around.
the road,
Yep.
get set up, get their bibs.
I mean, you literally park at the start line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
I don't
like
know if all trail races are like that, but
Generally,
everyone were just milling around, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we should walk over here now." It's not like a road race where people are super intense the entire morning.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
then,
really that is...
everyone's in line 45 minutes before it goes.
No, that's generally what it is. I mean, when you think about Vanessa's races, the Big Woods race, you think about all the races. That's sort of what it is. They're all just very chill.
You get a few people up front who are really, gunning, who will be a little more.
Yeah, but it's 5 people, not 300 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, guys, you need to calm it down. Take it down a few notches.
Yeah, no, everybody there is just like, I guess I'll throw on my vest and wander up to the start line. And
it's super friendly. There's dogs all around. You're petting dogs. You're people are just walking around saying hi, even if you don't really know them. It's just a totally different feel. It really is. I mean, we've kind of always said that trail races just have a different feel to them. Michael took off.
It's 8 a.m.
I'm gonna, before Michael, we do some race recaps. I'll insert Tom had a Price of Fame moment. right after you
I didn't hear about this till the ride home.
when you took off. We went and there was a crew with Knobsylvania,
As in
like
Blue
Rockin' the
Knob.
Knob,
Blue Knob, yeah.
and Pennsylvania put together. They were selling some gear, and so we went over to buy some gear. We're standing there, and I don't know, somebody said something about podcast, and the woman who's selling the gear says, "Oh my God, are you guys the Will Run For podcast?" And we were like, "Yeah." And she comes over and she starts hugging us.
Yeah. Nice.
It was so sweet. And so Tom's like, "Oh my God, people know us." And so we have this whole thing. And then as we're standing there, our friend Brooke, who we had met a few minutes earlier, comes over, and I guess they all knew each other. And she says to Brooke, "Oh my God, I just met the Will Run For crew." And I didn't hear this, but Tom did. And so
I sure heard it.
Taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Oh my God, did you hear that? Did you hear that?" I was like, "What?" She's like,
First of all, I wasn't like that. I played it a little bit cooler. I was like, Aaron,
cooler.
obviously we have a reputation here.
And I think it's because we had been on and did like a Rockin' the Knob recap. I guess this is our third recap of Rockin' the Knob.
Yeah. And we had been on.
Yeah,
race director,
so I think it's just people.
Yes. Which is
at the
why
race now.
they said that they had found us. They heard Ben's episode, and then they went back into our backlog catalog and started listening to some other things. And so now, it was super fun though. It's a great time.
That's awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah. And we got to meet Brooke Shamwow and her husband Brad. So that was really awesome too. And hung out with them a little bit before. Tom has a new soulmate.
Me and Brad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's a cool guy. Cool guy.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up our Price of Fame moment that Tom enjoyed.
I'm just saying, when I meet someone with really good taste in music, it sits with me.
Yeah.
So shout out to Brad.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
No. So we saw Michael off.
Yep.
And then
people were like starting to show up, and they were like, "Tom, what's going on with your shoes?"
Here's the thing.
Everyone said something.
A running theme throughout
Oh my God.
this recap is going to be mistakes were made. Mistakes were absolutely made. I made a few different mistakes. The first of which Diana pointed out. I had in my head, I had thought I'm just going to briskly hike a half marathon through the woods, right?
Well, honestly, there's not a lot of running area on that half course anyway.
So I wore hiking boots.
After he solicited feedback for 6 months on
Didn't we
what
all
type of
tell
trail
him
shoes to buy.
Yes.
To
It was
get
like
the
3
high
months.
top trail shoes.
And Brad had a pair of the speed goats on that were high top. So we had a little chat with him about those. And then Melanie had recommended the ultra high tops. And I think Michael recommended the Solomon high tops.
Yeah.
So what happened there, Tom?
I felt like Melanie was personally offended. She's like,
was.
I literally sent you a link.
She did. Here's the thing. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink.
I heard that Tom had some of them in his cart.
I apologize that I asked for this this advice, and then I literally bought concert tickets instead of shoes. That was the first mistake. But I mean, my shoes were definitely tight enough, and they definitely protected my ankle. So I was just trudging through and not worried about really rolling an ankle.
It was so funny.
Mentally,
Weckerly
that was cool.
Walked up, and because he was supposed to run with you, and he was like, "Did you not buy shoes?"
Yes.
It was like the first thing out of his
Also,
mouth.
let's talk about how. Okay, so the Weckerly and Angie were there, and they text us at like we barely were getting service, and we did manage to get this text where they're like, the half marathon starts at 9, and the text we get is we're just getting in the car now. We should be ETA is 9 or 8:50, and Tom is literally turns to us and goes, "That's my worst nightmare."
Unacceptable. It all panned out fine, but I'm like, he's just gonna he would catch me no matter what, but like he's just gonna have to catch me because I am not waiting.
And then so they really did get there at like exactly 8:50. Like Ben's already doing his pre-race stuff, and Andrew's going over to get his bib and like getting everything all put on, like
Oh my God,
as he's
that's
doing his
amazing.
pre-race stuff, and he was like ready at like 8:58 to go.
Yeah,
he only needed
he was
8
all
minutes.
he forgot his phone.
Oh yeah,
left
he
it in
didn't
the
bring his
stroller.
phone on the trail.
It's useless out there anyway.
That's
honestly.
true.
It really is.
But he did say that there was like a couple places he would have liked to have taken pictures.
Yeah,
so you know,
Well, for me that was useless too because I got to the overlook and went to take a picture, and I was locked out of my phone for an hour because I had sweat all over it, and it wasn't
terrible?
working.
God.
So it was
yeah.
that.
Well, so then they take off, and then we're left with Melanie and Angie, who are running the 10K.
Oh yeah, because Jeremy ran the half too.
Yeah,
Melanie's
yep.
husband Jeremy was doing the half, and
Yes.
that was his first
first
half
half.
marathon.
Mhm.
Yes, and
Picked a hell of a half to start.
Oh yeah.
for the record, the night before, he did say
Oh,
at
God.
dinner that when we asked him what he was expecting to do, he was like, 3 hours. And we're like, oh, wow, that's a lofty goal. And he was like, well, there's no point in driving up here if I'm going to do a half marathon in more than 3 hours. And we were all like, no one said anything. And we were like, okay. Like no one knew what to say.
It's hard
Jeremy,
to
we love
know
you.
unless you've done this race.
Yes.
It's hard to know the
love you.
conditions
It's fine.
in those woods and on those mountains.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
really
will say,
difficult.
it's not like we ran Labor Pains a few weeks ago, which is a typical, I would say, East Coast type trail race. It's got climbing, it's got hills, got some rocks and things like that. Like Labor Pains is like here and Rocking the Knob's up here. And if you can't see that, my one hand is like 3 foot higher than the other. It's like so like your basic trail race is one thing. Rocking the Knob is like graduate level trail running.
Well, I mean, it's like it's considered like PA's like hardest 10K course. It's like the number
10K
2
course is insane.
It's like the number
Yeah.
2 half or marathon course in the Northeast.
No, it's like this. Well,
It's the second hardest.
7th in the Northeast, 1st in Pennsylvania.
Second in Pennsylvania, I think. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's really hard.
Regardless,
It's
it's incredibly
really hard.
It's very technical.
Yeah.
So Jeremy took off. We were left with Angie and Melanie. Diana and I were put in charge of baby Winter, who is freaking adorable.
Oh, she's so cute.
And so then they took off. And instead, Diana and I stayed behind and cheered. And now I guess you guys can race recap.
Yeah, I'll do the marathon
races were.
first since it's pretty easy. I don't know if there's not too much to it, but quick like a description from their site is Rockin' the Knob, one of the Mid-Atlantic's region's most physically demanding races with 250 feet of climbing per mile on your legs.
God.
But that also means there's 250 feet of descent per mile on your legs because you're going up and down because you're finishing and starting at the same place. So for every mile, you're going up and down 250 feet essentially. So every time you're going down, you're going back up. If there's a long downhill, you're going back up.
I don't remember reading this description. Our sadistic race directors here embedded challenges that are designed to mess with the heads of even the most seasoned trail runner.
Definitely, 100%.
That is the description.
It worked.
So, all right, I'll get into the marathon. So, I started off, it was fine. I was like, I know I need to run everything I can run because I know like I need to make the cutoffs and I know the back end is hard. So like the first 15 miles, I was cruising. Like I had some, 10:30s, 10:15s running downhill and stuff. So like even my climbs, I had like under 20-minute miles on some of the climbs. So like, I'm like, all right, I know if I get to mile, I think my target was if I get to mile 14, I was around a little over 4 hours or something like that. Maybe mile 15, I was a little over 4 hours. I was like, I know the back end is going to be about the same amount as that, even though it's only another, it's less mileage, but it's exponentially harder. Like this race is backloaded. The marathon is backloaded. You get so tricked. Like I think I ran a half in a little over 3, like a half marathon in a little over 3 hours. So yeah, it must have been mile 15. I was closing in on 4 hours. But then around like 15 and a half, you hit this climb. And it just goes.
Is that the waterfall climb
I don't know
Tom had to do?
Yeah, that one's there. I don't know if that's that one. I forget. But there's 2 big climbs before you get. No, the waterfall one's right before the Quitter's Row. Oh. So that's it, right?
The before Quitter's Row is the ski slope.
Oh,
the waterfall is
the waterfall
before,
is 15 to 16.
Yeah, the waterfall is the one before the one where we dropped last year around mile 18. All right,
so you get to you're cruising along. I mean, cruising relative term. It's super technical the whole way, regardless. There are areas where you can run and stuff though. It's very rocky. You really got to pay attention. So then you get to the ravine where you're just climbing up the waterfall for 1.5 miles.
Tom enjoyed that.
And it is relentless climbing. It is 10%, like almost 10% grade the whole way for 1.5 miles. Just nonstop.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's like, rock steps, mossy rocks, crossing back and forth over the waterfall that's slippery.
You know what the word we kept hearing over and over and over again yesterday was? When we how was it? What was it like? And we were getting feedback from people. Multiple people said, it's just mean. Why is it so mean?
It is mean.
So there was like a group of 4 or 5 people I was around most of the time. And like a bunch of them passed me on that hill eventually. And I was like, oh, wow, they're really, really going good. So I was like, I'm just going to keep doing what I got to do because I know I got a bunch more climbs. So I was taking breaks and just trying to be smart because I knew I had a lot coming up.
Yeah.
And so, I had plenty of time. I was well under, cutoffs and stuff. But we got the word at the beginning of the day that the ski slopes had massive washouts on them from a heavy rainstorm. And I mean massive. And not just washouts, like it blew loose giant rocks all over the ski slope. So it was treacherous going down the ski slope. And so you're basically going down like 1 mile of ski slope, like just nonstop, very steep. And then all of a sudden you turn right and have to go straight up a ski slope that's super steep.
Oh my God.
That's like 500 feet high or something. And you're literally just climbing up the grassy ski slope. And so I got there and my quads and groin locked up as I turned to make the climb up from running down or from slowing myself down going down the ski slope. And so I'm like, oh God, like everything's locking up. And eventually I just started climbing, took my time. I would take breaks on the way up. And that's right before you get back to Quitter's Row, which is the start finish area before you go out on the 10K course for the back end of the marathon.
Yeah, that's where I came and saw you because Quitter's Row is right next to the
start finish.
The start finish.
I just said,
yeah. So I came running up to you to see how you were.
I was like just zapped because you used so much energy in that section.
Yeah,
it's like insane.
Were people just going down on their butts, like going down the ski slope on their butts because it was so like
you're talking you had massive rocks like this big all over the place
God.
Because of the rain there were like washouts that were 2-3 feet deep.
Oh my God.
Right next to you where it was just all rock just blown out everywhere.
Somebody said they saw people going down on their butts.
I mean, it could have been. There are some areas that are very steep.
I thought it was you. Maybe it was Jeremy then. I'm not sure. Somebody said something about seeing people on their butts.
That's very possible. I would not do that. I would not recommend it. So I should have taken more calories. Like that section, I really needed more calories for than I took in. But not like I wasn't like super deficient. So at the Quitter's Row aid station, I did pound a lot of stuff. And
it was funny because we saw you coming and Erin like ran in her freaking boot like a lunatic over. And
somebody yelled at me.
We're like, is she going to make it worse or better if she goes over there? We're like,
No, it was fine.
And we said at the end it was good.
Yeah, I knew I needed
a pep talk.
I needed to take a minute there and just reset after that, because it is such a grind, that section. It's 2.5 miles of just straight down and straight up, just crushing you.
And when I came over, I was like, "Are you good?" And you're like, "I don't know if I'm going to keep going." I'm like, "You're going to keep going," and he's like, "I guess." I'm like, "Yes, just keep going. You're fine." Like you've got, and even the guy when
I had
overheard us,
almost 3 hours,
and
he
was like, "You can do a 10K in like 2.5 hours. Like you're fine. You've got plenty of time." And I was like, "Yeah, you have to go back out. You can't stop now."
Yeah. So what I did, I took in a bunch of calories. I had actually taken some calories right before getting to the aid station. And then at the aid station I took a bunch, had some Cokes and stuff too, and just really like, and I set my mind to, I'm just gonna hike, because from there you leave there and you go like it's 3.5 miles to the Throat Punch Hill aid station right before you climb Throat Punch Hill. So you go for like 1.5 miles, 2 miles, where it's like slightly going downhill, and then it drops like 1,000 feet down to Throat Punch Hill.
Oh my God.
And on these like real loose rock roads. So I was like, I am just going to hike to there so I can, like, I know I am going to need a ton of energy to get up Throat Punch. So I gotta recover in this 2.5 miles. So I just hiked. So two of the people who I had passed at some point on the climbs, on the later climbs that were on the earlier climbs that had passed me, we've been going back and forth a lot, were running this section and ran past me. And we were all some of the last finishers. So like they passed me, and I'm like, oh, well, good for them. But so I got to Throat Punch Hill aid station, and basically at each aid station they have a sign for what the next section is with the elevation and all. The Throat Punch Hill one is 2.5 miles, 1,400 feet of climbing, 450 feet of descent in 2.5 miles to end the race. That's to end the marathon, or whatever you want to call it. It's like 27 miles or whatever. So I'm like, all right. So I got some more stuff at that aid station. I'm like, just going to keep moving forward, and that's it. I was like, I got time. I was like, I just need to be steady on and Throat Punch Hill is a grind.
Oh, yeah.
It is. The top part of it is harder than the bottom part, but the bottom part is longer. So you're basically going, like, the bottom part, you're doing like a 30% grade for like a mile or half mile or whatever it is. It's like you're just going up, stopping at trees. Like you have to stop at a tree so you don't fall down the hill.
Yes.
And like lean on the tree. Like that's how you get up.
Oh God.
So you go up and you stop at a tree, take a break. And like I passed the two of them on Throat Punch Hill, and I actually went up it pretty fast and steadily. Like for me,
WEC was like, part of the problem is like there's actual trail up there, but then Ben just sends you up like a freaking hill, like he was like a goddamn goat. Yeah. Like I don't understand. Like why there's an actual trail and he just ignores it and then sends you up the side of a freaking hill.
Because there's switchbacks. That's what I said the first time. There's switchbacks. There's like a perfectly good trail you can just keep going on. Instead, he's like, turn right and just go up the giant steep thing instead of taking the switchback.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part, so I get to the top of Throat Punch. I sit down for a minute. I'm like, let me catch my breath, get my heart rate down. And then you're on just a gravel road. It's very rocky, but you're on a road, like a fire road. And I'm like, all right, now I'll start hiking. I'm going to hike to the next section. I know there's more climb to go. So you're going down this road, and then you just see the caution tape, and you're like, oh, man. Because the caution tape means there's a turn there, essentially. And that's that climb that is like 42% grade or something.
It's called upper Throat Punch.
It's upper Throat Punch. It is steep. You literally use your hands and feet to climb it.
Yeah.
Like the lady I had passed on Throat Punch caught up to me. The guy, he had kind of faded. He finished about 20 minutes behind us. She caught up to me, and then I was like, yeah, I'm feeling all right. She had lagged back a little bit, and I got to upper Throat Punch. I think I trotted up there. And so I literally clawed my way to the top of it and then took a break at the top again because that one's not as long. It's short, but it is literally you can't stop on it or you will slide down it.
That was when Angie came back from it. Like did you see how her hands were like just full of dirt because she'd been clawing up the mountain?
Yeah. She's like, where can I wash my hands? We're like, there's hand sanitizer over by the porta potties.
So I get up that and I'm like, oh, Jesus. So then you're on another fire road again. So I'm just walking at that point. I'm like, I got plenty of time. I'm through the hardest part of this. I'm just going to hike it out to the end. And she's basically on the fire road below me, below that hill. And I hear, oh my God. I'm like, oh, I was like, yep, I know what just happened. And so I was just really taking my time, just, I knew I was going to finish, so I didn't care. Like, if I finished at 8:30 or 8:20, who cares? It doesn't matter. So she caught back up to me, and we kind of walked the last like mile or so together. And she's like, she's like starting to try. She's like, oh God, I can't run. I was like, yeah, me either. But she was trying to get to the finish before her watch died. So we were just like speed hiked it as best we could. And then once we came out of the woods and saw the finish line, trotted to the finish line. And that was it. It was like, it was warm. It was 80 degrees out yesterday. The 10K course was really hot at that point in the day. And it was, the 10K course is just relentless. It is relentless. It's so hard. Like the 10K is you go straight down and you go straight up. It's just,
I think that's
nonstop.
The meanest part about it is that you have to go straight. Like, it's not like you get to go down at the end. It's like you go straight down for 3 miles and then they make you go straight back up for 3 miles. So the last part of the marathon is straight up. It's like mean. We're back to it's mean.
It is mean.
Yeah, it's like, but I finished. That's all I wanted to do. I was happy with that. I'm glad I did run hard to start the race and bank time. I really made sure I concentrated because last year that's where we screwed up. We were trying to conserve energy in the beginning for all the stuff at the end.
Yeah,
and we went too slow and ended up missing the cutoff.
Yeah.
So this time I was like, I am going to bank my time early because I know what's coming at the end.
And even when we talked about in our post, what we normally do when we do our post race evaluation just between the two of us, that was one of the things we said was we thought that conserving the energy in the beginning was the right thing, but if we did it again, we were going to have to make sure we ran out the first part of it where there was actual runnable sections. And so he basically heeded what we said.
Yeah, I was like, I need to put in as much, time between me and a cutoff now, because at the end you're not making anything up.
Yeah.
Like you're not making up time on Throat Punch Hill or anything else, Even if you climb it well, you're not putting any time between you and the cutoff, really.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful course. I filled up my water bottle on the waterfall climb and drank the water. I should have brought a filter with me. That would have been smarter, but it didn't bother me regardless. So I did have some nice fresh mountain water on the way up. And I finished and I was happy with that. And other than if Aaron wants to run the full again, I will most likely only do the half going forward, but who knows?
He said that last year, and then he signed up for the marathon this year. So I don't believe anything he said. He also, on the way to the race, accidentally started his watch somehow in his bag.
Oh God!
And declared when he found his watch his watch, and it was like had been running all night, and he wasn't sure what percentage of battery he was going to have left. He was like, "I give up. I'm never running a race ever again." And I was like. Okay, that's the appropriate reaction.
That's fine. That's fine. None of us have ever acted that way, Aaron.
I did remember all my nutrition, though.
Yay!
Hey,
that's a start.
Baby steps.
Oh man, let me tell you, when you're
quads and groin lock up, it's not a great feeling.
Oh God.
Oh, that was the thing. Like, so I had the issue with my quads on the ski slope. When I went on the 10K thing, I'm just hiking, right? About a mile and a half in, my right quad starts cramping up as I'm walking. And it is like painful. And I'm like, I have to just keep moving. Like, I can't. And thankfully, like, it just worked itself out. Like, I was able to hike through it. But it was, it's not a great feeling. No. I'll tell you that. But other than that, only turned my ankle a couple times, but it's totally fine and no big deal. So all healthy otherwise.
Nice.
Good.
Tom, how was your race?
So I'm not going to go into obnoxious detail because I already posted about it on social media, but I will say that mistakes were made. I don't think I respected the race enough in my head, like in hindsight. And it's hard to know, but I did the 10K and yeah, that was terrible. But like, I'm like looking at the elevation or what I thought was the elevation. And I'm like, well, I could put another 6 or so miles in front of that as long as it's relatively flat.
There is no,
and be prepared for it. That was dumb. Like I kept making mental dumb mistakes. So I wore the wrong shoes. I did have a hydration pack, which was the first time I used it, which worked out fine. Actually, worked out perfectly fine. So that was great.
I burped your bladder.
You did burp my bladder, which was
you learned an important lesson
brought
on
us
how
closer.
not to slosh. Yes. How not to slosh.
Yeah, it was sloshing around in the hotel room. He was like, he filled it up and then did a little run in the hotel room. I was like, there's something going on with your bladder.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, if you burp your bladder, it means you get all the air out so that it doesn't make that sloshing noise.
All day.
Yeah.
So.
But there was also, you kept meaning to do training and you were going to go up to Patapsco State Park and all that, and then you just never did.
Didn't train on trails once for this particular race. In my head, we had done a 10-miler, a 12-miler, a half marathon the 3 weeks prior, So I was like, so I can do the distance. Yeah, I can do the distance on flat ground. Fine.
Not with 3,500 feet of elevation?
Not respecting the race. Like, I did not respect this race, and it humbles the hell out of you.
Oh, it will.
I
immediately
wonder if you would have been better in sneakers rather than your hiking boots. Not trail sneakers, just your regular running
I don't think there would
shoes.
have been enough traction.
No.
And I don't think there would have been enough ankle support. My whole thing in life is rolling an ankle is just the worst thing. But anyways,
not everyone had shoes with ankle support.
No, because I have a whole opinion on trail runners. It's amazing.
What's that opinion?
That we don't care about our ankles.
That we don't care about her?
Understand because I'm going through some of these sections, most of the race, and I'm just staring at my feet, which I have high ankle boots on that are very my ankles are very protected. Like if I slipped, everything's going down. I'm not rolling an ankle. And
you could still roll.
See, here's the thing, though.
Not with the protection that I had, just because I. Anyways, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I had the wrong shoes on.
But I do want to go down that rabbit hole for 1 second. I actually have had hiking boots that are high, and I actually don't like them because they don't allow my ankles to move. I actually, on those kinds of rocks, I want some movement so that my whole leg isn't turning.
Yeah, because if your ankle's not moving enough, then when you lose grip or something, you're gonna blow out your knee.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
my ankle. Okay, so I don't want to talk out of two sides of my mouth. I was well protected, and it was very supported, but there was definitely some movement, but not anyways, I was fine, but I was looking at my feet. I was looking at my feet for 4.5 hours. But anyways, so we started out with Weckerly and we're making some good time. My whole thought process was if I could maintain a 20-minute mile throughout this entire thing, I'd be fine.
Which is true.
And we did for 6 or so miles. And then we get to one part and we're making good time. We're chit-chatting. Weckerly's doing that thing where he asks me for my opinion on something. And then when I give an opinion, he tells me it's the wrong opinion. We had a custard versus soft serve ice cream debate. Maybe we'll post a poll, but no, it was going great. And then we start on one climb and he just keeps getting further and further away. And we hear that the sweeper has passed us. And so, which is weird about being in those woods because like people can come up on you and then disappear and you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
So I lost Weckerly, but I had always told him, and I kept repeating it, if you want to go, just keep going. So now I'm by myself at like mile 7 and I'm just trudging.
But you guys had gotten slightly off course, right? And that's part of the reason why
we went off course one time and for like just a little bit, and then we got back on, and then we saw a random hiker. And she was like, hey, you guys with the race? And we're like, yeah. She's like, I just saw your pacer. So Weckerly just kind of, he's already leading me for like a good bit. And then he just kept going and I just couldn't catch him. So he just went.
Yeah.
Fine. But now it's me by myself. And I'm just going. And then I get to the part where it's this long valley. And there's like basically like a creek that's running down the middle of it with waterfalls. It was beautiful. And you just keep going back and forth over it. And it's just a long grind of a climb. And like this one guy came up on me with poles and like he had to sit down next to me because his quads were locking up. And he's like, give me a minute. I'm like, do you need help? I asked him if I could help him, knowing full well that I had nothing that I could do to help this man.
It's the thought that counts.
So I kept going, but I'd have to stop every so often because my heart was beating out of my chest.
Yep.
And my legs are absolutely on fire. Like my hamstrings, my quads, everything is just on fire. Like it was such a grind. And in my head, now I'm by myself in the woods. And in my head, I'm starting to quit. I was starting to quit. And then the pacer guy, or the sweeper guy was right behind me. Very nice guy. His name's Aaron. He's from West Virginia. He does custom cabinetry work. We got to know each other.
We got to know each other very well.
He was the most, and you guys saw him at the end of the race. He was the most laid back dude in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was not pushing me. He was like, do you want me to talk to you? Do you want me to hang back? I'm like, are you just here for me?
Yes.
Like literally this one sweeper was just on my heels the entire time and just stopping. He wasn't pushing me. He was just stopping, giving me little pep talks. He wasn't bothering me. I'm like, do you need to sweep me? Like, honestly, because it's just me and you on this mountain and I'm taking forever and I don't have anything else in my tank, buddy. He's like, nah, man, it's cool, man. Just, we just do what we do. And I'm like, seriously, do you need to sweep me? Like, I don't, like in my head, I'm like,
please sweep me.
I'm like, I was at like mile. And so the tough part about Rocking the Knob is like I said, if you set out to do a half marathon and you're thinking it's 13.1 miles,
it is not.
That's not the case.
No.
Because I think what the half distance actually ended up being was closer to 14, 15 miles.
Yeah.
Or it's something like
14
that.
and a half or something like that.
So,
yeah.
And that was slowly like I was realizing that. And I was like at mile 11 or something. And I'm like, I can't do 4 more miles, especially if I have to hit this one cutoff by 1:00, and then they moved it to 1:30, and so I'm all confused, and I'm like, when am I gonna just get picked up? Because I can't breathe. My heart is beating harder than it's ever beaten. My lack of fitness was catching up with me, and then in my head I'm like, yeah, but you still put in a hell of an effort. So like my pride was not going to be hurt no matter what. I just wanted a human to be able to rescue me, and I couldn't do it myself. So he's like running ahead and he's trying to get a GPS signal and he's trying to figure out like where the nearest aid station was. And he found it. And then he's like, yeah, it's just a mile up this fire road. And I'm like, can they drive the car down the fire road? He's like, nah. And I'm like, all right. So I trudge up this thing and they met me like, they're like, hey, cool. Yeah. Give me your bib. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I gave my bib. They gave me a beer. They gave me like a pickle juice shot and I just sat there. I didn't realize
they gave you a beer. That's nice of them.
He was like, do you want a lager or an IPA? I'm like, I'd take a lager, sir.
Oh, that was at the aid station right by the ski hill, right?
Is that where we got?
That's where you guys picked us up last year.
Yeah, where we
That's
got.
where we found you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, and we're all just chatting, and I'd say I got swept, but really I quit. I basically bowed out because I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, I could either just I could go back into the woods
and be miserable,
or I could stop. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. So yeah, hindsight being 2020, I definitely quit this race.
Well, and it was hard because I think he was texting us, but we weren't getting the text messages if that's what was happening. So we're at the finish line. We're all waiting, talking, like Angie and Melanie were back by that point. And then I'm looking, I was like, that's Weckerly. And Tom is not there. Like,
yeah.
But then you pulled up in a car less than 5 minutes after.
Yeah, I was going to say it was like barely 5 minutes after. We see you coming from the other direction. We see out of a car. We're like, that's Tom getting out of a car.
Oh my God.
But by that time, Weckerly had sort of told us that you were behind the sweeper or with the sweeper and that you likely got swept.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, if you were with the sweeper, there's really nothing you could like that's not a race where you're going to make up time on the sweeper, especially at the section you were in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I was really trying to move faster, but like, I'm looking at my watch. And I'm looking at like, you know, how quickly I'm going, and I'm like, I'm barely moving. Like this is going to take forever, and I'm keeping this man out here by himself. And there are other racers here. Like, make a decision.
Well, you even said that you were physically stopping. So usually, like, you'll pick a random object and like walk with that thing. And you said you would walk to the tree and then stop for a minute, and then walk to the next thing and then stop. Like you were.
Oh, that's because that was right after the climb up the ravine, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It was terrible.
There's just times where you just have to stop.
Yeah.
And it's demoralizing and it's humbling and it's like I had no motivation to keep going, but like the part that really sucked is going up that ravine with all those waterfalls. I would have loved to have stopped to take pictures, but I'm like, that's just more stopping. Yeah. You're doing more stopping than you are physically moving, and you are not in a place where they could come get you. Like, you've got to get out of this place while you have energy in your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is, but I mean,
I'm proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
Dude, that is a hard race.
It is.
For the entirety of the race. Even the easy parts are not easy.
Yeah.
So, like, that takes a different breed. And that's my thing about trail runners. Like, I don't see how people navigate that terrain and those loose rocks or those, like, rocks at different angles and different heights and narrowness and all of that as quickly as they do.
Yeah, I mean,
and
some
I know
of the
you're moving,
first finishers are insane.
I know you're moving real quick, so you might barely be making contact, but like the mental focus that you have to keep the entire race. Like if you're running like a Disney race, you're on flat ground or whatever, like you can kind of zone out because you know that your pavement is not going to vary. This thing varied a lot.
And I mean, they practice a lot. And then the other thing is you're very afraid of falling, where everyone I talk to, they're like, oh, we just fall all the time.
It's true.
We just fall all the time.
I fall a lot.
And we're okay with falling. We just fall a lot. I fall a lot. Yeah.
I
Like
fall
everyone I
a
talk
lot.
to.
Like Melanie has said that
we
she
fall.
falls a lot. Like, well, I just fall.
Brooke and her husband were saying that they fall all the time. Like everyone was just saying that they fall.
I stumble. I don't usually fall, but I've definitely fallen.
I mean, you just have to like learn that like you're probably going to fall at some point and it's just going to be okay.
Yeah. And that seemed to help them mentally. And they said because they're a little bit more okay with falling, a lot of times when they fall, it's almost more like a tuck and roll where they're kind of like loose. So they're not all like, cause a lot of times like, and I think what would happen to you, and I think honestly what happened to me when I hurt my knee when I fell, is that you kind of like lock up and everything's tight. And then you're more prone to injury. If you just like let yourself fall, then, makes it a little easier.
I mean, the problem is that also with falling, though, is that sometimes you're not expecting the moment that you're going to fall. So sometimes it's hard to react properly. But yes, like you just have to like accept, like there's nothing, once you start falling, there's nothing you can do about it. So you, like you said, you just kind of learn how, like once that you have that feeling of like, oh, I'm falling, you just kind of tuck yourself in and prepare for it.
Yeah.
The best that you can.
The best you can.
Yeah. I don't know. The last time I fell, it wasn't at that pace towards jagged rocks, which is all Rock in the Knob is it's jagged, loose rocks.
The other obstacle that people were not expecting, especially for our 10K runners, was attacked by a swarm of bees.
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up right now. I got some feedback. So I do have some feedback from everyone who ran with it. The swarm of bees
Weckerly,
is brought
when he
up a couple
finished,
times.
said it was the hardest thing he's ever done.
So the swarm of bees comes up a few times in both Angie and Melanie's reviews.
Oh God. Okay.
So I'm just gonna read through them real quick. Melanie says, I was originally registered for the half, but dropped down to the 10K so I could see Jeremy over the finish line for his first half because, picking this as your first half is smart. I had a little FOMO all morning, but the 10K course did not disappoint. Close to a mile in, somebody stepped on a yellow jacket nest and they started attacking everyone. And I got stung 3 times. God. I'm not 100% convinced that those bees weren't planted by the race director because it just seems par for the course.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Ben, did you plant those?
Did you plant
the yellow jacket nest? The climbs were brutal, but the course was beautiful, and I managed to finish in the top 3 of my age group.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, Melanie. So yeah, the yellow jacket nest, her feedback after she said when she crossed the finish line, she was telling Diana and I that like she could just hear people screaming ahead of her.
God.
And by
she said you would just hear screaming.
And by the time she realized what was happening and that like because they had run through, so they were already screaming. So it was too late and they had already like started as soon as she started hearing them screaming, she felt something on her and then she felt the sting and it was too late. So she's screaming and then behind her, she's hearing screaming and everyone's just screaming.
It's just unbelievable. And they hurt so bad. And they had an EMT at the end who had nothing for bee stings. They were like, we can give you some Benadryl.
Oh my God.
So she's like, they hurt so
yeah, I
bad.
felt so bad for her. She's just sitting there like shaking her leg. She's like, I just want to amputate my leg. If I could just cut it's hurt so much right now. I just want to cut it off. I was like,
yeah, she got like 2 on her leg and then like 1 on her arm.
And the one on her arm was like that swelled like huge.
Yeah, it was bad.
Angie's 10K report starts bees. The 10K course, the first 2 miles were fairly easygoing. You had to pay attention to your footing, but it was all short or flat or short rolling hills. There were a couple places where flags indicated that people were supposed to scramble over boulders, but there was also room to go around. And it looked like most people did. Someone kicked up a ground nest of bees, and all the runners around me got stung at least once. I thought I was in the clear, but then one landed on my ear and stung me out of spite. Jerk.
Yeah.
So she did not escape the bee stinging either. Around mile 2 and 3, as a service road that runs downhill. Probably my least favorite part of the course. Footing was very unstable because of the washout. There was also some type of mushroom that grew in big black clumps. I thought it was bear poop at first.
I remember that.
There was no one in sight, so I grabbed a stick and started waving it around and singing loudly when I saw another patch of stuff and I realized what it was.
Oh, God.
I missed she didn't tell us that was funny. I knew Throat Punch Hill was coming. I tried to maintain a steady pace through the first 3 miles without blowing myself out. I didn't want to spend a ton of time at the aid station, but I did grab some water, clementines, and pickles. Volunteers were all super lovely. Throat Punch Hill sucked. When I started going up it, I was using other people's footholds, but I realized they were too far apart from me because I'm short. Still burning too much of energy on the big strides. Halfway up, I needed to stop at pretty much every ribbon to catch my breath. I mean, that's what you said about Throat Punch Hill, too.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Back half was an uphill slog. I would see service roads on a crest and then wind downhill. But then as I got closer to the top, the flag started showing that we get off the road to climb more of the mountainside. So mean. See, she says so mean also. Everyone, that's the word of the day. The last half mile was pretty flat and easy. I kept thinking I was close to the finish line and doing a final push, then rounding a corner and seeing more trail. Definitely felt a sense of accomplishment at the end, even though I did the shortest route. It was pretty lovely to just hang out at the picnic tables in the shade and cheer on the other runners as I came. Many thanks to Diana and Erin for watching Baby Winter while I ran.
Oh, that's awesome. It was also funny because she was chatting afterwards and she said, I was so afraid that I would have FOMO because I always do if like people are running all their distances that I'm not running. She's like, I'm good with that today. After doing what I just did, I'm totally fine with my decision.
Yeah. Jeremy says, I set an ignorantly lofty goal for myself to finish a sub 3 hour. As we all laughed at him. But then the climbing began and I missed a turn that took me about half a mile and 600 feet down, which meant that I had to climb back up to get back on course.
God.
There were no trees left on the I Need a Sherpa, so it was hands and knees crawling the whole way up. My legs locked up a few feet from the finish line too, so I busted my ass in front of everyone. It was a humbling race to say the least, but I finished and I'll be back for more next year.
There you go.
See?
Yeah.
So as he was coming down the finish, we saw him. Melanie and I got up and I was going to film him. I asked Melanie, what kind of mood do you think he's in since he didn't do a sub 3? She's like, I'll feel him out before you start making fun of him right away.
God.
And then, so I got up, I was going to film him crossing the finish line, but then some woman, which I never ended up finding out what she said to him, started talking to him. So he turned around to talk to her and kind of like was half running backwards. And there was like ruts in that road, I heard. So I guess his legs locked up and he fell backwards. And I was like, nope, not going to film this finish. Don't know what kind of mood he's in. Don't know if he wants me to film him.
On the ground. And I don't even know like who that lady was or what she was saying to him.
I don't know. I never found out.
It almost looked like she was a volunteer. She wasn't like running.
Yeah, and she wasn't. She was just some woman on the side. I'm not really sure. He turned around to talk to her, fell, and then I was like, I don't know what kind of mood he's in, so I'm not going to film his finish just in case he's like doesn't want to be filmed. I don't know him well enough.
That thing was so weird. It was weird.
But it turned out he was in a fine enough mood for me to troll him a little bit about his not sub 3 half marathon.
Yeah, he was super nice.
He was. We got Weckerly, who says, I think the most succinct way to review Rockin' the Knob half marathon is to say the course is just mean, or is mean.
Yep.
Just plain mean. The first 6 or 7 miles, pretty much switchbacks and climbing over some rocks that I feel a little treacherous, but fun, controlled danger sort of way. Around mile 7, we came to the first sign where you scale a waterfall. Then I got to the top of this. I was told the sweeper was in front of me. We missed a turn and spent maybe 2 minutes looking for where we missed the trail. I didn't think it sounded right, so I picked up my pace to see if I could find the sweeper. I finally did at the next aid station, so I set off to run to try and stay in front of him and almost immediately went off trail again as I missed another left turn. Once I righted myself, I came to what I thought had been the worst part of the race. in what seemed like a waking nightmare. It was just a mile after mile of exceedingly steep incline that you scaled another waterfall and then just kept going up and up and up and up. Each time I thought I was going to hit the crest, the trail would turn 90 degrees, which would somehow create more uphill path for me to climb. I never had to breathe so hard just from walking. Running was absolutely out of the question. Once I finally made it out of the forest, my GPS tracker told me I was nearing 13 miles, so I thought I was almost done. However, the volunteers told me that I needed to just refill my drinks and get back out there so I could finish on time, because I still had about two and a half miles left. Those 2.5 miles were seemingly longer than all the previous way I had come. Ahead of me was a ski slope that was extremely steep, with just all grass, no good footholds, and no sun cover. Also, it had a false crest where you only see once you've summited, and then you have to go up another 30% to keep going up the hill. And then at the top, a little bridge with a steep ramp that has one final FU to the runners.
Yes.
That had to be the hardest part, right? Well, once you've shuffled down another steep hill that is literally disintegrating beneath you as you move, you come to another sheer wall of rock to climb up, pulling yourself up along either trees or on all fours with no way to rest.
Oh my God.
I've never been so certain in my life I was going to severely injure myself. All that to say, the trail was absolutely beautiful. Scaling across running waterfalls was one of the cooler things I've ever done. The aid stations were the best I've experienced, and the volunteers seemed to be exceedingly positive and supportive to compensate for how awful the race was on the runners. It was a great race to do once.
What?
So
yeah, he said he'd never do it again.
Once, yeah, we were like, "Oh, did you have fun?" He's like, "Yeah." He was like, "It was okay." I was like, "Would you do it again?" Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." Oh my God. And then we have one last one from our friend Brooke that we met this weekend, who said it was nice to meet you all yesterday and some of the other people in the Will Run For community. Brad realized that him and Tom are cut from the same cloth. I mean, they both love Tool and need high top running shoes. Buy them now, Tom.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Takeaways from her race. My husband and I were signed up for the full, but both pulled to the half after realizing we were not prepared. About 9 miles in, I thought I could have actually done the full, and then the final 5.5 miles set in. We'd only hit 1,000 feet of elevation and knew there was over 2,500 feet more to go.
Yep.
God, that means that, wow, that's a lot. In 9 miles, there's only 1,000 feet. In the last 5.5 have 2,500.
Everything is back. It's all back end.
And don't call it a half marathon. A half marathon is a defined distance.
Yes. The math doesn't add up since a nice 13.1 half marathon, but nothing about this course is nice. Race director Ben must be bad at math or just mean. The back end of this race is brutal as it traverses up and down ski slopes that appear so nice and friendly when covered with snow. We were near a fellow runner on this last journey of the race. We made sure to warn her that this race doesn't stop at 13.1 and she needed to be ready. Mambo Alley was washed out with deep ravines to avoid, and then you turn up Deer Run, which sucks the soul out of every runner who looks up it. I made it to the top by hiking in small side-by-side zigzags while counting 5 steps. Anything to keep my mind off of it. Then we still had more brutal climbs and steep downhills. We scrambled the I need a Sherpa using the small trees as grips to get up it while trying to not create an avalanche of loose rocks for any of the runners behind me, with still more climbing after. It's the meanest race. It's horrible and evil, and we keep coming back because it's amazing. She does mention the tiki themed aid station and the amazing volunteers, the kindest people. The trail running community is the best. Best example is staying to cheer until after the final marathon runner comes across the finish line. We're not normally able to stay. We drive home, but they sat in their chairs with their cowbell and cheered everyone on. Luckily, we knew Michael's name, so his cheers were more personal. By watching the entire...
Well, it was funny because I was crossing and I heard my name from the right, and I'm like, wait, everybody I know is over to the left.
Because you had taken off before we'd met Brooke.
Yeah.
And Brad. Yeah.
I was very confused at that point.
Yeah. She said that's why they do it. It's hard and you learn so much about yourself. Trail running is not always easy or fun, but it's the challenge that hooks us. And the community is what keeps us going. We always come back for more. As Peloton has taught me, forward is a pace. There we go. We got a Peloton lesson in there.
There it is.
We can do hard things. If Brittany can make it through 2007, we can make it up the hill.
Amen.
See you at the next knob.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I loved them. I loved them.
That was great.
It was a good time, as always.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We didn't keep this short. We never do.
We knew it wouldn't be.
No,
we knew it wouldn't be.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Anything else?
Yeah. No,
on Rockin' the Knob.
Just to say, Baby Winter might be the cutest kid in the universe at this moment in time.
Pretty cute. She's pretty cute. And the other thing I will say is we all stayed and watched the absolute last runner finish the race.
Yes.
So that was
amazing.
That was so cool.
Ran his butt off to get to that finish.
Yeah. He was a marathoner and he did 9 hours.
Gave
it was
absolutely everything he
had. My God.
Yeah.
Crossing that finish line. I mean, I cried a little. Actually, I cried a bunch, but whatever. I cry a lot.
Honestly, anybody, like, whether you DNF or whatever, you give everything in that race.
You give everything.
Like, literally, you're not walking out of there without giving what you had that day. Because you have no choice.
I mean, you can't walk away from that race, Tom, not feeling proud of yourself because, 12 miles in those conditions, having never seen anything like that in your life. I mean, you left everything you could have possibly on the table, so you can't be more proud of yourself.
I don't feel bad about it at all. You got to put it into perspective. That's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. So going for the half marathon again next year. I'm sorry, going for the 14.5.
I've signed up for the full. I've signed up for the full. I don't know. I'm on the fence.
That's a
Let me get some distance between me and that race.
That's a decision to be made later.
If you need redemption. Maybe next year you do this thing called training on trails and get trail running high tops like Brad.
I will use poles next year regardless.
So
I just didn't feel like carrying them this year.
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah.
All right.